Hey everyone, Evan Jones with you here on the RPAC Rundown podcast. An awesome podcast this week. Longtime coach and educator Randy Geier of Wauneta-Palisade will join us on the pod. A great interview, great conversation with him. Of course, be sure to check out rpacrundown.com and social media for all kinds of great content. The RPAC Rundown podcast is brought to you by a bunch of great sponsors like Arapahoe Rehab and Fitness, Cambridge Supermarket, Webb's Oilfield Service, Cambridge Rehab and Fitness, Onyx Native, and C+. We'll take a break. Be right back. Now joining us on the RPAC Rundown podcast is Randy Geier of Wauneta-Palisade. He is the superintendent there and also the co-head football coach with Coach Joseph Frex as well. Well, Coach Geier, let's begin with summer. How's summer been for you?
Hey, summer's been fast and furious, but it's all been good. Busy start with the Shrine Bowl and then teaching driver's ed this summer, plus just regular superintendent things going on, but it's fun. Spending time with grandkids and just enjoying life.
That's awesome, Coach. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things, especially throughout your coaching career, teaching career, being a superintendent, and things like that today on the podcast. So let's begin with your coaching career. You're at Wauneta-Palisade, and you've been there for a number of years. But let's go back to getting out of college, Coach, and then to present day. But let's begin way back. Tell me about your stops, your head coaching positions, assistant positions, where you've all been, Coach. Just tell me a little bit about your career and how you ended up at Wauneta-Palisade.
Okay. First off, I was a junior in college and had a chance to start coaching. I had a friend from Lexington, and Lexington still had a Catholic school at the time. So I applied and got an assistant football coaching job over at Lexington St. Anne's High School. And I got paid a whopping $400 to drive 35 miles one way, and thought I get paid to do this stuff. And it was really a good experience. And I enjoyed that opportunity, and knew then that I kind of thought I'd always really wanted to be a coach, but I knew then that that was really my passion. And then when I student taught at Kearney High, I was very fortunate. Riley Harris was the head football coach at the time, and I student taught under a guy named Craig Lathrop, and he was the offensive coordinator, and they really did a nice job of taking me under their wing and taught me. I learned a lot about 11-man football then as I student taught at Kearney High. So I was very, felt very fortunate to be a part of that system. Then I spent a couple years as an assistant at Wheatland School, which is now Perkins County School. Then I had a chance to be a head football coach, moved to the eastern corner of the state at Nebraska City and taught at the Catholic school there for a couple years. And then a job opened up in the northeast corner of the state in Winside, Nebraska, and really found a home up there. We spent 12 years up in Winside. Really enjoyed the experience. Great facilities. It had been a school that had good football tradition, but they had gone through a revolving door of head coaches, and I think they just needed someone to come in and solidify things. And so that was a very, very enjoyable and fun and successful 12-year stint there. And we kind of decided, let's maybe give a bigger school a try, and had an opportunity to be the head football coach at Ord. And I did that. So that Ord was C1 back then. And I was head football coach at Ord for 7 years. I was very thankful. Ron Bauer was our athletic director at the time. Ron was a Culbertson native, as I am. And he spent time in the RPAC territory. He spent probably 25 years at Trenton at one time as athletic director and coaching. So I always appreciated my tenure with Ron. And then Ron actually came back a couple years ago and helped us. He was our principal and athletic director here. So he has some RPAC experience. So I enjoyed that. And then in 2006, that spring, I had a chance to, Wauneta-Palisade was looking for a principal and a head football coach, and Charles Ison was the superintendent at the time. Charlie spent a lot of years at Arapahoe coaching, and so 7 years here, gave me a start in administration. And so I accepted the position and, really, really enjoyed it. And things just kind of took off after that. I was appreciated the chance to get into, went to a smaller school, which I was happy with. I love it, but I did get a chance to get into administration, still coach. And that was my passion. I really kind of wanted to give administration a try, but I did not want to give up coaching. And it's just been unfortunate here that they still allow me to do both. And it's been a good run so far.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Coach. Now, obviously, you said you're in administration, but prior to being in administration, were you a teacher as well, or what kind of roles have you filled within the school?
Yes, I taught a plethora of different things. I was a K-12 physical education teacher, high school weights teacher. I spent several years, over 20 years, in the junior high classroom teaching junior high social studies, which I really enjoyed my teaching days. And then for a short time at Winside for about 3 years, I was also the elementary counselor there, and that was a good experience, and I enjoyed that end of things. But just the relationships with students, and that's kind of what I was afraid I might miss being an administrator, just those day to day interactions with your school. But a school our size, you still get to know the students, you still get to interact with them, and being able to coach with them, you feel like you get to know them better, and so those are things that I really enjoy.
Now, you mentioned you're a Culbertson native, so I assume that's where you went to school, and then also college. Were you at Kearney State College then, Coach?
Yes, I graduated from Kearney State College, and I always tell people my first year of college, it was the tuition was $15.50 an hour. It was a long time ago. So I started college in the fall of 1977, and finished up my undergraduate career in social studies and physical education. I picked up a driver's ed endorsement, and along with a coaching endorsement, and then I picked up my administrative educational degree at Doane College, and that allowed me to become a school principal. And then I picked up my educational specialist degree to allow me to be a superintendent at UNK. So I kind of started at UNK and finished up at Kearney State and finished up at UNK.
Very cool. Well, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll continue a lot of great conversation coming up here with Coach Geier. You're listening to the RPAC Rundown Podcast. Welcome back to the RPAC Rundown Podcast. Of course, we have Coach Randy Geier with us here from Wauneta-Palisade. So, Coach, let's just talk about more about your coaching career. How many years in total have you been coaching?
This will be my 43rd year coaching football.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you got the opportunity to take part in the Shrine Bowl this summer. How much fun was that for you?
That was a very enjoyable experience. Just getting to know, athletes from across the state, the true experience of the Shrine Bowl. We met some students that had some young people that had some difficulties that had been beneficiaries of the Shrine Bowl, and listened to their stories. And that was really a moving experience to get to spend time and listen to those young people. And but it was a fun experience. But that I was fortunate. That was my sixth All-Star game that I've had a chance to coach in. I've coached in a 6-man game. I've coached in two 8-man All-Star games, and I've coached in two 11-man All-Star games now. So that just kind of adds to the fun part of coaching. It's kind of a bonus and reward, and a very enjoyable experience getting to work with other coaches and get to know student athletes from other schools.
Yeah. And, we talk about football a lot throughout your career. Have you coached any other sports?
You bet. I've coached boys and girls basketball. I did that a few years, not too many, but I've spent a lot of years, probably 30 total, coaching track and field at various levels, uh, boys and girls. I was fortunate enough to be part of our 2008 state runner-up team here. Blair Dixon uh, was our standout athlete that year, and she was a state champion 100-meter hurdler, and I was fortunate to be the hurdler coach that year. So I appreciated Blair's hard work and effort at the time. And then when I was at Winside, our girls got a state runner-up in 1990, and our girls got a state championship in 1992. So that was a lot of fun. I've always really I enjoyed coaching basketball, but just after coaching football, sometimes it's kind of nice having that break in the winter months. Basketball, I got a lot of respect for basketball coaches. That season is a grind, and 5 players play and everybody else sits on the bench. It's a tough sport to coach. So I respect basketball coaches a ton, but then I've always enjoyed coaching track and field also.
Of any of the sports that you've coached in, any of the stops that you've had, are there any teams that maybe come to mind that maybe stand out a little bit more than others?
I got to reflect back to our 2006 football team here at Wauneta-Palisade. We had a lot of talent that year, and we opened the season with a loss to Stapleton. I thought we were going to have a really good season. Well, Stapleton ended up being the state runner-up in Class D2 that year, and we made a heck of a run. We got to the state semifinals that year in Class D1. We were behind Arapahoe 36-16 with 8 minutes left in the game, and we're fortunate and came back and won that game 40-36. We were 5 for 5 on our 2-point conversions and won that game, and that really gave the guys a lot of confidence winning that first round playoff game. And then we hosted number 1 ranked Axtell, who had been on about a 20-game winning streak, or 121 out of 22 or something like that, and they had been state runner up the year before, and they'd come in, they were 10-0 and number 1 seed, and we beat them here. And then we went to Loomis, and it's like, oh my gosh, the athletes they had that year were just incredible. They were led by Lance Thorell, and they had a ton of excellent athletes. In fact, they were, I think, state champions in track that year, and they were maybe a semifinal basketball team. Gosh, we were down. Loomis had us down 28-16 with maybe 5 minutes left in the game. We come back and won that thing 32-28. We scored about 2 minutes left in the game, and we pulled that one off. And we lost to Overton in the state semis that year. We were only down 20-14 at halftime, and then we had a chance. We had a back breakaway, and thought he was going to score, and they all of a sudden they had a guy come in and did a punch on football, and we fumbled it, and they drove 72 yards for a touchdown, and took about 8 minutes off the clock, and ended up beating us 43-14. But it was good. It was a very good game. They were very well coached. Went on to win state championship that year. So the '06 team really stands out. The thing I remember about that team was that we had a young man named Taylor Dixon, who was our quarterback, and Taylor broke his thumb. The second game of the season, he played the whole second quarter with a broken thumb, and then we got far enough ahead that he didn't have to play the rest of the game. But we moved a young man named Trevor Ridland to quarterback that year, and Taylor was a very, very team-oriented guy and had no problems settling in at running back for us. And he was a starter his freshman and sophomore year at quarterback, so he didn't have a big ego. He said, "I want to do what's best for the team." He had a big cast on his hand, so it was his left hand, but he still had a hard time. So I just remember the team aspect of those guys really meshed together well and wanted to do what was the best for the team. We did have some all-staters and some guys that were, maybe a little better athletically, but they were certainly team guys. And then, of course, they went on and won state basketball that year with an undefeated record. And then I was one of the track coaches that year. We were fortunate enough to finish third down at the state track meet that year. So that was a very, very rewarding year. And then we won the NSAA Cup that year. Our boys did. So for all athletics.
Yeah, pretty good year. Pretty good year. Now let's talk your coaching origins too. You talked about some of the people that you had worked with early on in your coaching career, but let's talk about for you specifically, Coach. How important was it for you as you were making a decision for a career to be a coach?
Truthfully, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life. I knew when I was a young boy I wanted to coach, and I was fortunate a couple times to go to practices at football. Not very often, but when I was in elementary, because I lived on a farm, I usually had to ride the bus. But I was fortunate enough to stick around and watch practice a couple times when I was in elementary. I thought that was really cool. There was a coach named Joe Hickenlively that allowed me. He treated me really well and made me feel good, and didn't run off the little kid that said, wanting to watch football practice. So I really enjoyed that. Uh, I think back to when I was when I was in upper elementary and junior high, and my freshman basketball coach, we had a guy named Larry Blanchine coaching us. Of course, Larry was in the Nebraska Hall of Fame, and he played AAA baseball for the Oakland A's, and he coached at Culbertson for a lot of years. So I always looked up to Larry. He was a good mentor for me. Bob Ruggles was a good football coach. He was one of my high school football coaches. Bob was a graduate of Red Willow High School, so he was in the RPAC territory. So I looked up to Bob during that tenure. I was also his PE assistant that year when I was in high school with junior high. I had a gentleman named Dennis O'Connor that worked with Bob Ruggles. He really treated me well and helped me with the football bag. And I got to throw in Barry Ballou. Barry's Brad's older brother. Brad does a lot of RPAC basketball games officiating. Barry was our basketball coach and assistant football coach, and always treated me well. And I always tell Barry that, at Culbertson, we were real short and weren't always real good at basketball. We were pretty good about winning 6 or 7 games a year, and that was what we maxed out at. And I always told Barry we were our ticket to go straight to administration. So Barry was our basketball coach for 3 years and went straight to administration. But he was a good man. I've kept in touch with Barry through the years.
Yeah, very cool, very unique. Now, let's talk about coaching itself. What are some principles you believe in? Maybe not even just like a specific sport or anything like that, but what are some principles you rely on as a coach?
I think it's really important to, whatever sport you're coaching, to teach the students about the game of life. I think it's athletically, you have your ups and downs athletically. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You have a lot of things go against you, and obviously there's days that everything goes with you. But the thing we try to talk about is don't get too high with the highs, don't get too low with the lows. It's a situation where I think students, when they're going through tough times, they need to handle perseverance. We say, hey, you worked your tail off. Maybe you're a farmer, and as you guys know, in eastern or towards Arapahoe, there was a bad hailstorm. We talked to them, hey, you may get your crop, work hard to get your crop hailed out. Then what do you do? Or maybe you're an insurance person and you're trying to make a sale and you're working on people and they don't go with your company or whatever. So we tell them that there's going to be, whatever you do in life, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. So you got to work through and not give up, keep working hard. And same deal when you do have a good year, when things go well for you with your job someday, that you can't rest on your laurels. You got to keep plugging away and keep working. And we talk to our guys every day that you get better, you get worse, you never stay the same. So I think it's really interesting and important to teach the game of life, through athletics, because athletics teach students so much more. And I think the thing I really believe in, and I Coach Frex does too, we work really well together, is that some kids need sports worse than sports need them, and they need to be a part of a family. And taking care of some of those student athletes is really important to make sure they're part of something.
Yeah, you mentioned Coach Frex. That was going to be my next question. You guys are co-head coaches. You seem to work really well together. How do you guys make that work?
Well, we're going to start year 14. And I guess part of it, when we first sat down and talked, he brought his practice schedule. I brought mine that I'd been used to. And they were almost identical. It's like we've been already working together. So I think a lot of it, we have the same type of philosophies and we have the same type of beliefs. And, a lot of that's just an easy way to just that we've meshed together very well. And he's a great guy to work with. We both try to be flexible at times. He's really good about devil's advocating me. I love the guy. He's good about doing that. I try to, learn from him and devil's advocate him. And it's at the end of the day, both of us, and I know that's why I appreciate working with him, is we both want to do what's best for the young people, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain other than I just feel like we mesh together, and a lot of it's just because our philosophies are together, and we, just work together well.
Even with many years of experience like you have, Coach, how do you keep working on your craft?
You know, I heard a coach, actually it was Jeff Beller at a clinic about 10 years ago. And guys, he's a National Hall of Fame coach, still coaching, won a lot of state championships up at Norfolk Catholic. And Jeff's a buddy of mine, but I heard him at a clinic once say that, when you think you know it all, it's time to get out. And that really set home. This guy's won all these state championships, and he says something, he really believes it. And I think that's important, that like we tell our athletes every day, you get better or worse, you never stay the same. So you're always trying to find ways to improve and make yourself better as a coach, and find a better way to do things without losing your core values of the things that you've done and believed in the past. So I think, you do that through clinics, relationships, networking with other coaches, but just trying to find that way to just get better and better. As the game changes, whether it be football, basketball, whatever, it changes, but it goes back to your core values as fundamentals, so then we're always trying to find drills and those types of things to keep, to just better our craft. So that's what's been really challenging and fun about coaching, is keeping things that maybe still do some things we did maybe 10 or 20 years ago with some new things that we've added in the last couple of years. So just working and just trying to, find a better way.
Now, I'll ask you, Coach, before I let you go. Big 2025 season coming up here for Wauneta-Palisade. You bring back some good experience. What has you excited for your group this year?
Yeah, we're real excited. We went to a camp this summer, and the camp was there's some darn good football teams there. So we learned a lot of things we got to get better at, but we also did, some things pretty well, had some success with some things. So we're very excited about it. We did lose three real good seniors that had played a lot of football over the years, and they were good leaders for us, but we also feel like we're going to be a football team. There's going to be a lot of competition for playing time. And as you know, playing competition makes players work a little harder in practice. So we're just real excited about how things mesh together this fall. And you always cross your fingers, hope we stay injury free, and continue the good attitude. And that's the thing I've loved about student athletes here, is that in the past 20 years, they've just their work ethic's good, their attitude's good, and the parental support's good around here. So I always look forward to working with our student athletes here. So we're excited about the football season.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, Coach, thanks a bunch for the time, and we'll be seeing you this fall. Okay.
All right. I'd like to thank you. I'm very impressed with RPAC Rundown and all of the hard work you put into it, Evan. you make it look easy. And but I know there's a lot that goes into it, and it's just really appreciated. I appreciate you following at state track meet and things you do at state basketball, and obviously all the stuff you're doing during the off season. Here in the summer, you don't get an off season, so I really appreciate what you're doing for our conference, because I truly believe we've got the best conference in the state of Nebraska, and it's a great one. So thank you for your work with RPAC Rundown.
Means a lot, Coach. Means a lot. We'll be seeing you in a couple weeks. All right.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
That will do it for this week's episode of the podcast. Many thanks to Randy Geier of Wauneta-Palisade for joining us. Again, great interview. A lot of fun to chat with him. We have some great content continuing to roll out this summer. The magazine will be on shelves very soon, it sounds like, so we're really excited about that. Of course, the RPAC Rundown podcast has a bunch of great sponsors like JBK Operating LLC, Scouts Recreation, Cross Diamond Cattle Company, Tri-Valley Medical Foundation, and Prairie Girl Candle Company. Thanks a bunch for tuning in. We will catch you later.